Gareth Southgate's name has been thrown into the mix, Cass, for the potential replacement for Erik ten Hag should the Dutchman leave this summer. The current England boss was speaking to us yesterday on his links to that job.
No, it's not affecting anything. I've been in a job for 8 years where almost every day things are written about me that I have to get on with. All I would say is I'm the manager of England. I've got one job, pretty big one, but we play Brazil tomorrow. We head towards the Euros in the summer. And also Manchester United have a manager. And I think when stories are written about clubs where there's a manager in place, I think that's completely disrespectful.
Is it still flattering to be linked with a club like Manchester United, though?
I'm not even going that route because I'm the manager of England, and if I entertain any sort of comment on that, then there'll be another story, Oxygen, and so no.
Ever the diplomat. He's brilliant, isn't he? He really knows how to answer a question, does Gareth Southgate. Ten Hag's future at United.
But can I just say something on that, Nat? Is there anything wrong in saying what a football club, and it's flattering to be, linked with a club of that stature? But England's even bigger for me because I'm that manager of a national team, and I know damned if you do, damned if you don't when you answer a question. People make up their own minds of what what they interpret from what you say.
I know what you're saying. I think even that's the problem. The smallest, if you just give it the smallest answer, that people can just latch onto it and they spin a story. The headlines, we love our headline bingo. Even if he said it's one of the greatest clubs in the world, that would be the headline with the tiny caveat of, but I still love to be the England manager. I'm happy where I am, etc. But the headline would be all about United, and the links then that just would generate more of a story.
Okay, so if you say I'm just going to be totally honest, and you don't have to say I'm going to be honest, but your words come out your mouth of just the way you feel, and I don't think there's anything wrong in saying that. Man United job. It's the biggest club job in the world, or one of the biggest club jobs in the world, and of course I'd be flattered. I'm in a job I love, and it would take incredibly something special. But for me, I'm only focused, like he said, on the tournament this summer. You never know in management where it leads you, Nat, do you? No,
and I understand what you're saying, but I just feel as if he just gave something like that away.
Yeah, I get it.
Say, for example, England don't do well at the Euros. It'll be because he was distracted because he mentioned Manchester United and how it's one of the greatest clubs in the world, and it will just lead to all sorts of issues. So in some ways, it's probably better, even though headline-wise it's not much of a headline grabber. But to be diplomatic sometimes is probably the better option.
I'm just.
I understand what you're saying.
I mean, when obviously Jurgen Klopp came out about Liverpool and the way he spoke and management, and he won't manage in this country again, and for another team in the Premier League, but he quite clearly said he'll want to be in another job, and so he will be. But the way he worded it was that it's a big chapter in his life that has just come to an end, and he has walked out of Liverpool. He's basically ended his contract, cancelled it, but he's done it in a way with love and affection for the club because he feels so strongly about it, like he did in Dortmund. He walked out in Dortmund. Yeah. But you can't say it like that because it's not really that. It's about something far deeper. His honest opinion is it's time for me to move on. For whatever reasons, whether it's personal, he says he lacks energy and, they need a different man at the helm. I get all of that. But he has basically walked out of the football club during its, duration of his contract.
Do we have a Radio Liverpool jingle there? Because if I had somehow brought that back onto my team, whose name I'm not mentioning,
no, but do you know what I mean?
I
don't.
I know what you're saying.
I just sometimes get a little bit. Gareth is I've been lucky to meet Gareth a few times, and there's nothing you could say that's, criticising him in any way. Funny enough, I had a debate this week with a friend of mine, and he will not have Gareth for love nor money. And he will not give him any credit at all.
He polarises many people.
Yeah, and I sort of think, come on. If you've made a semi-final and you've made a final of a Euros and you've lost a penalty shootout and, the elimination, There has to be some, but Bobby Robson never achieved that. But Bobby Robson was one of the great managers in the history of the game in England. Sure. And then Terry Venables, he didn't achieve that either. But they were great managers. So I don't quite understand.
I've seen people say that he's a failure, Gareth Southgate, with his England team, which doesn't make sense to me at all when he is the first manager, obviously, since what Sir Alf Ramsey achieved, to have taken England as far as they've done in competition. So,
well, Mike, I'll give it to my friend the question. I said, so if England win the Euros in the summer, you would see him as a success then? And he went, no, should have won the World Cup, should have won the Euros. I said, that line of logic is impossible. It's a competition, a cup competition, where you could easily be eliminated via penalties, that's the game is so difficult to do it.
Well, let's get back onto this link with Manchester. He's already on a rant this morning. Let's get back onto this link with Manchester United. This is all following, obviously, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's purchase of a stake in the club and how he's head of football operations. That's what his remit is now that he's involved at United. We're expecting them to appoint the Newcastle sporting director, Dan Ashworth, who's currently on gardening leave after he had told the North East club that he wants to leave. And now there's this association with Southgate. Bear in mind, Ashworth and Southgate worked to the Football Association together. On White on Jordan this week, former England midfielder Danny Murphy understands why Southgate's been linked with the Old Trafford job.
The England job in itself is huge pressure and probably comparable to being in the hot seat at Man U. In terms of man-managing players, he's created an atmosphere at England that's not been seen for a long time, where players are actually really looking forward to going there and wanting to play for him. There's a harmony in the England squad that's not been there for a long time. And that's been talked about a lot too, and he's created that. You could argue that Gareth, one of his strengths is dealing with the press. I think he's super articulate, he's calm, humble guy, who deals with the press as well as any England manager I've seen. In terms of question marks around tactical and, getting over the line, winning things, fine, that's a football debate. But the subjects we've just talked about, he's more than capable of walking in the Manchester United seat.
Okay, so that's what Danny Murphy had to say earlier this week. And you can understand, certainly, those personal traits that he was talking about, how he is so personable, how he has brought unity to this England squad. It doesn't feel as though there are cliques anymore like there used to be. The relationship that's been built with the press, massively, massively important, because we know how the press can turn so quickly on a manager and how that's led to departures of many. Can he be the right fit for United, for you?
I don't see why not. I really don't. I think he's a very capable manager. When people look at his time at Middlesbrough and what happened, and he's a very young man at that time. And you have to experience failure to some degree. And I think Gareth has showed that he's earned his stripes. His team are better now than they've ever been. I look at his side and think they would be the team that would scare Europe. The ones who are in Europe who are the big hitters, obviously you're looking at teams like Spain and you look at France as the obvious one, Germany not so much. But they will look at England with envy because they think, what a good side they are.
Yeah.
And I think Gareth's built that. And Gareth has got this incredible ability to understand the players with the right mentality as well. And that's including fringe players. He wants his fringe players. If he's got a player that's equally as good as somebody else and he had to make a choice, I guarantee you Gareth will make it on the personality of the guy and what he brings to the dressing room or the squad in a campaign that adds, and that's off the field. Gareth will choose the right one. And that's why the harmony is right.
And you know what? That is why, and I'm not, listen, I've long talked about in the past about why is Harry Maguire in there, why is Jordan Henderson there, why is Calvin Phillips in there. But that is partly why he picks Maguire, but partly because obviously he's been reliable in England shirt as well. And Henderson as well. It's what they bring to the camp. It's that leadership and experience.
Every competition you go, whether it's Euros, World Cup, you will have your 20-odd man squad. Most teams will use about 17. There'll be 3, 4, maybe 5 that won't be used at all. Obviously, your third goalkeeper, but players. But you want them to be an integral part of the group. So you're not selecting them just because they're good players. You're selecting them for how they react in a camp with everybody that you can just get on. It doesn't mean it's all hunky-dory, but they play a big part because they're not going to play. There's going to be at least probably 4, maybe 5 players that will not kick a ball from England. Look, I'm taking away that one game where if you win 6-0 and you're through your group stage, some of them might get a game. But I'm generally across the board looking at it.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight because there's no Harry Kane, there's no Jordan Henderson, for example, so he will have to tinker. We'll see a slightly different England lineup than we are more used to. And then this, as I said, is all gearing up for the Euros where England, Scotland will be participating. Wales hoping to reach Germany as well. They're one game away from doing that. If they beat Poland on Tuesday, they will guarantee their spot at the Euros. So the question is, should we support other home nations? That's coming next.